Ahoy, you salty sailors. Time to raise anchor and set sail for your best scrawny life. Arr.
Alright, that is not just an upscale, but a complete rebuild and reanimation of that intro. And as you saw, it is also an upscale to 4K. We're shooting in 5K and publishing in 4K. Now, whether you are able to view the video in 4K is going to depend on the device that you are watching with and your internet connection, and of course your player settings. Generally, there's a settings button in the lower right hand corner of your viewer on YouTube. You can check that and see if the option exists to boost up to 4K. In the meantime, we've had a strange spring. We've had some warm days and some very cold days. Some of the crappies in some of the areas did not spawn, and so far we haven't seen gar spawning either. Some of the things that I normally take videos of in the spring just did not materialize in some areas. And we've had a lot of wind this spring, and you'll notice, perhaps you've noticed already, that something is strange about the audio, and that is because I'm experimenting with capturing the wind, the sound of the wind, in a different way with the GoPro 10, the GoPro Hero 10 that I use for most of these videos. There's two microphones, and there appears to be, and the way it captures the wind is with a loud mic rumble. And of course I can apply filters of various kinds when I'm editing the video to reduce the annoying nature of that mic rumble. But I think there is a better way. And of course I know about things like open cell foam and dead cats and other ways of muffling the sound of the wind, but I don't want to merely muffle the sound of the wind, because in many cases the wind is an important component of the story that's being told. So I want to capture the sound of the wind, but I don't want that annoying mic rumble. I want more of a whistling, whooshing type of sound. So I've been experimenting with some sort of device that I can attach over one or both of the microphones. Did that crappie just jump clear of the water and headbutt the kayak? They are on a tear. Get a grip, man. Wow. All right. Well, I guess I must apologize because I do have an almost unparalleled talent to meander verbally. So anyway, back to whatever it was I was rambling on about. That's what's wrong with the audio, is that we're trying to find a way to capture that whistling wind sound in the native raw format. So that is going to be an ongoing experiment, and well, when I find something that works exactly the way I want it to, then I'll describe it to you. But in the meantime, just don't worry about the audio. It's a work in progress. And of course the drone, I have a new drone. The DJI drones, I was using something with between the manufacturer, the Chinese government, and the Trump administration and whatnot, they got banned, or their software didn't work anymore, and so forth. So and I liked the DJI drone. It was a better quality and even smaller and more compact than the drone I replaced it with. Um, but well, it's that's the geopolitics of international trade, or whatever you want to call it for you. And this is not good. You know, you see a shape in the water, you cast at it, and turns out to be a baby snapping turtle. That is not what you want. So now I'm not trying to torture the poor thing. I'm trying to figure out what to do. But I was able to just take the forceps and sweep in there real quickly and twist the hook out of its mouth. It was only caught like right on the edge of its beak there, so it was not deeply hooked or anything. And I was able to just swoop in there and pop the hook free eventually. Meanwhile, I couldn't find the big gar on this particular day. The adults are not up and spawning yet. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell which end is the head and which end is the tail. Whoop, found it. That's the head. So there she is. Of course, that one got completely tangled in the fly line. These ones had their heads down around this beaver lodge, and they were looking at something down in the water. I suspect it was spawning shad. They're not sleeping or dormant or anything, because this one did strike the fly. You can see right there, I missed the hook set, but it did strike it. Uh, so they're hunting something, and I suspect that shad, gizzard shad, were spawning, because here in this little beaver dam you can see some spawning shad there. And so I suspect there were spawning shad around that beaver lodge that were low enough that you couldn't see them, and that's what those gar were doing with their heads down. My theory, anyway. I couldn't tell for sure. And that one popped loose. I did take one of them popped loose, and cut the hooks. Swung loose and caught on my hand, which is why I wear that leather glove. So I was able to, they did not puncture the skin or anything, they just were stuck in that glove. And I was able to just pop them free. I usually crush down the barbs on any hooks I use for gar fishing too. Makes it a little more likely that the fish throws the hook, but if you do take a hook in the hand or in some other part of your body, it's easy to just pop them out without too much damage. So safety first. There is an eagle, a pair of eagles that live in this little space between the lake and the Raccoon River there, and they've been there a couple of years. That one, there was a larger carp, a great big tail came up, and I was stalking in that little stream. Well, here a little carp stole the fly instead. Here's the star of the show. It's not fully melanistic, but it is unusually dark, darker than the average gar. So there's our unique phenotypic variation for the gar. Well, the shadow of my arm kind of makes it difficult to tell, but it's not fully melanistic, but it has some melanistic tendencies. And this one, I think, had the real distinct diamond pattern that some of them have. Let's see when we get that a little closer here. Yeah, it has the diamond pattern. Really good there. So some interesting, some interesting color variations. But like I said, the older fish were not up on the surface this day. So uh, hopefully they spawned at some point. What's stranger still is that the gizzard shad have started spawning early. These small fish that you see spawning along the shoreline, those are gizzard shad. What the big deal about this is that what would draw those large predators that are normally out in deep water would draw those close to shore, well, because their food is up on the shore spawning. The nature and the abundance of the gizzard shad spawn will set the tone for the rest of the summer. So it's a big deal in water systems that where gizzard shad are the forage base. And once you've got a net full of those happy baits, the rest just sort of follows as a matter of course. Summer is finally here, the shad are spawning, and happy days are here again. Just look at the head on that thing. good, good lord. Now, I was testing a wind noise device that was made with drinking straws cut in a certain way that day. This is without the filter, and this is with a frequency filter added. So that's about the closest we've come, but I'm still not entirely satisfied with the result. I'll keep trying. In the meantime, our mystery plant for this episode belongs to the family Brassicaceae, the mustard family, as you can probably tell by the four-petaled flowers and those soon-to-be seed pods, which are arranged not just alternately, but alternately with a quarter turn around the main stem to form a sort of ascending spiral pattern, which is indicative of Brassicaceae, the mustard family. Now, within the Brassicaceae, I suspect that this specimen belongs to the genus Sisymbrium, the hedge mustards, and it's perhaps Sisymbrium loeselii, although I'm not entirely certain. I'm basing that guess on how sharply pointed the end of the leaves are and how deeply incised those grooves are on the base of the leaf, and that even become individual lobes as you go down the stem towards the basal rosette. The stem and leaves have these sort of short hairs on them, one of many very similar looking mustard family plants. Here's a stand of that common mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris. We may do a feature on that in one of our upcoming videos. There's a look at the stem. You might not think so, but it is of course Asteraceae, the composite flower family. Now, our next mystery plant has this long nectar spur at the back of the flower, extending back from the face of the flower, suggesting that it is perhaps pollinated by something with a long proboscis like a butterfly or so forth. And if the family Ranunculaceae sprang to mind, then you would be correct. This is, of course, a larkspur of the genus Delphinium, but which of the larkspurs it is not quite so certain to me anyway, as many of them look very similar. However, since we are certain that it is of the genus Delphinium, we know that all parts of the plant are quite poisonous to both humans and animals. And here you can see the foliage, not the trefoil, and not the Virginia creeper with the 5 leaflets, the quinquefolia. It's rather that palmate, almost spider-like, deeply incised leaf right there.